All right. Thank you all for having me. I'm Ross Metler. I'm running for State House District 23. It's Wheat Ridge, a little bit of Lakewood, Mountain View, some of the smaller neighborhoods in there. I'm going to ask you for three things before I conclude this when the time comes. But first, I want to tell you why I'm here, why I chose this room in particular. Here's what I understand about the log cabin Republicans. You're the people who refused more than once to let anyone else write your story. You refuse to let one side tell you that who you are disqualifies you from your principles, and you refuse to let the other side tell you that who you are is your principles, that your private life comes with mandatory politics attached, an acronym, a flag, a permanent seat in someone else's coalition, whether or not you asked for it. You decided your personal life is yours, and your politics would be about ideas, limited government, liberty, the Constitution. Holding that line in this day and age takes more spine than most people in politics will ever be asked to show. And that's why I'm here. Not because I think you're a voting bloc, because I think you're stalwarts for truth, for principle, and for thoughtfulness. And I wanted to say that out loud. Just a week or two ago, a Colorado writer named Michael Hancock, not the Denver mayor, Michael B. Hancock, published an essay recently that I found to be very cogent. He opens with one sentence: Colorado does not need less compassion. It needs compassion strong enough to tell the truth. He warns what happens when compassion gets detached from truth. It doesn't stay compassion for long. It becomes enablement. It becomes moral performance. Eventually, he says, it becomes cruelty disguised as kindness. Personally, I'm not a religious man, but Hancock sent me to Jeremiah when he mentioned something. The heart is more deceitful than all else, meaning the human talent for dressing up our own ambitions in the language of virtue is bottomless. So compassion has to be tested, not by how noble it sounds, but by truth. Now, why does a libertarian feel at home with a bunch of gay Republicans and others, I assume? First, I know what it's like to be put on a list. The day after the 2021 inauguration, former CIA director went on national television and read out the Americans he thought the administration needed to study, the same way they study terrorist groups overseas. Religious extremists, authoritarians, fascists, bigots, racists, nativists, and then, his own words, even libertarians. So we made the list. Not for anything we did, but for what we believe. So when I say I know what it's like to be targeted and disregarded, I'm not speaking figuratively. Second, I know what it's like to watch your own side lose the plot. In the summer of 2020, I got a bit of an education. In my company, there were workshop sessions run by an outside consultant group, a Washington lobbying firm, hired to restructure how we spoke to each other and what we were allowed to think out loud. I sat in those DEI sessions holding a question that I'd carried for years. How do obviously unconstitutional ideas, the kinds of things that no administration could pass, and things that the courts end up throwing out a year later after the damage is done, end up governing our lives anyway? That summer, I got my answer. What government cannot do publicly, it does privately. Ideology infects the institutions, the employer, the HR department, the professional associations, and your paycheck becomes the enforcement mechanism. Nobody needs to pass a law when your career is on the line. And here's how total the capture was. That same month, the Libertarian presidential candidate tweeted, and I quote, "It is not enough to be passively racist. We must be actively anti-racist. Hashtag Black Lives Matter." Even the party of Leave Me Alone was reciting the script. Every principled movement attracts people who wear its principles as a costume. Now a quick confession. I started my political journey on the other side. When I was young, I was with the progressives because in those days, the banners that they held said things I still believe. Absolute free speech, get the government out of the bedroom, marriage equality, end the wars that spend away our kids' futures for the connected few. Some of those fights we won, and then I watched the movement do something that I didn't really understand at the time. It refused to be finished. Because a movement that admits victory has to stop cashing checks. The political machine needed a next crusade, and a next one, and a next one. Causes that you and I never signed up for, and it kept your name on the letterhead this whole time. You won your equality, and the conglomerate that claims to speak for you can't take yes for an answer. That's exactly what Hancock is describing. Compassion detached from truth stops being compassion. It becomes an industry. Somewhere in those years, I realized the definition of a good man had changed radically, and I mean specifically by the machine I've been describing. It has a definition, and it's very clear about it. A good man is one who holds the correct opinions, uses this month's approved language, and keeps a clean compliance record. Say the words, post the graphic, sit quietly through the workshop sessions. I never bought it. Sitting in those sessions, I could see exactly what it was. It was a loyalty test wearing the mask of virtue. So I went looking for the real thing, and I found out why they buried it. The old definition is dangerous to them because a good man, the real kind, doesn't lie down. He stands up, he speaks out, and when he has to, he defies. A machine that runs on compliance cannot afford men like that, so it wrote them out of the story. The kids on the internet recently are Nixon maxing. And of all people, of all speeches, the one that stays with me is Nixon's last morning in the White House talking about his father. A streetcar motorman, then a farmer with, quote, the poorest lemon ranch in California. Sold it before they found oil under it. An unlucky man, unsuccessful by every metric that we're taught to use. And his son said that he was a great man because he did his job and every job counts up to the hilt. That's the tradition we've been busy burying. A good man is not a man with the right opinions or the right hashtags. A good man does his duty, tells the truth, and keeps going when it's not working. William Wilberforce, another such man, lost votes in Parliament for 40 years and ended the British slave trade without raising a hand to anyone. I told you I'm not a religious man, but when I went digging in the buried tradition, the founders, the abolitionists, and scripture, I found the better definition I was looking for. And when I found the liberty movement, I found the living version of it. Proof that I wasn't alone and that people who still believe these things have each other. So back to Colorado. Take Hancock's test. Compassion must be tested by truth. Walk it into our legislature and watch what happens. They tell you the fees on your gas and your deliveries are compassion for your roads. Then citizens qualify a ballot measure that asks one thing, that money actually go to roads. And the legislature's answer is a bill to cut the revenue if it passes. Think about that. They would rather cut the money than account for it. The cut is the confession. They tell you our energy policy is compassion for the planet, while a 9.9% residential rate increase lands on my neighbors this August, and data centers get courted with tax breaks. I'm a data guy. I like data centers. I think we should build them, but don't make our neighbors pay for them. Then tell you, and they let a bipartisan bill die that would have put basic guardrails on license plate surveillance. Cameras logging where you drive, who you visit, which church, which gun store, which meeting. Denver canceled its own camera contract after the vendor's CEO lied about who could reach the data. My rule for the surveillance state is the same rule we finally won for the bedroom. Nothing about you without asking you. This room of all rooms in Colorado knows why a list where people go at night is never harmless. I read the fine print. That's the job I'm applying for. Compassion strong enough to tell the truth, line by line, contract by contract. One last thing. In House District number 23 this November, there is no Republican on the ballot. It's just me and a Democrat, a two-way race. I don't read that as an empty line. I read that as an opening. There are Republicans in Jefferson County, some of them in a position to know, who have looked at this race and concluded what this room already knows. The fight for liberty has never been confined to one party's line on the ballot. My job between now and November is to be worthy of that conclusion. And the arithmetic backs it up. No spoiler math, no wasted vote lecture. Republicans, unaffiliated voters, and libertarians in that district can outnumber the other side if they show up for the same name, and I'm asking to be that name. So 3 asks, I promised I would get to this. 1, please go to rossforco.com. Please donate. I've raised a few $1,000s up to this point, but the reality is we need to 10x that within the next month. 2, August and September are our name recognition push, and I need hands, doors, envelopes, and calls. Please volunteer if you have the time. And 3rd, everyone in this room knows someone in Wheat Ridge or Lakewood. I would love to be introduced. I need 10 living rooms in the next month or 2. I'll show up to everyone. And one more thing before I let you go. Somebody sometime this fall is going to try and make an attack on me for being in this room. And if the worst thing they can say about me is that I met with gay Republicans, please print it. I will post it. I will frame it in my office. You spent decades proving that principle can outlast being unwelcome. Help me show that it can win a seat.